This week, fighting along the Thailand-Cambodia border escalated sharply, even as peace talks continue in an effort to bring the conflict to an end. But what are the actual prospects for peace? I'm Cal, and in this video, we're going to map out the dispute, where it came from, why it escalated so quickly, and why everything isn't as it seems. The conflict itself has deep historical roots. During the colonial era, when France controlled Cambodia, border maps were drawn under the Franco-Siamese treaties of 1904 and 1907. Those borders were never fully settled, and for decades they've remained the subject of competing interpretations and unresolved claims. The result has been a frozen conflict, largely contained but never resolved, that periodically flares into violence. But while history explains what the dispute is, it doesn't explain why it's erupting now. To answer that question, we need to leave the colonial maps behind and start in early 2025 with one hinge event that shaped the entire conflict. That event was the leak of a private phone call between Thailand's then Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra and Cambodia's former Prime Minister Hun Sen. Although Hun Sen formally stepped down in 2023, he remains the most powerful political figure in Cambodia. The central authority behind the government, now led by his son, Hun Manet. In the call, Paetongtarn appeared to be seeking de-escalation after a border incident, urging restraint and dialogue. What she didn't know was that the call was being recorded. On June 18th, Hun Sen released the full transcript. Paetongtarn came across as unusually deferential toward the former Cambodian leader, and more damagingly, as critical of Thailand's own military establishment. To understand that decision, we need to widen the lens. Paetongtarn is the daughter of Thaksin Shinawatra, Thailand's former prime minister. Over more than 2 decades, the Shinawatra and Hun families built close personal and political ties. Those ties likely shaped the informal tone of the call, an attempt to defuse tensions through personal channels rather than formal diplomacy. It also reflected internal divisions in Thailand, as the Shinawatra political camp has been locked in a long-running conflict with Thailand's military and conservative establishment. These divisions led to 2 coups, one in 2006 removing Thaksin and another in 2014 removing his sister. Now, with Paetongtarn presiding over a fragile coalition government, she was walking a tightrope. Inside Thailand, the reaction to the leaked call was immediate and explosive. And ultimately, Paetongtarn was removed from office by the Constitutional Court for an ethics violation. The episode raises an obvious question. If Paetongtarn, the daughter of a closely connected political family, was genuinely seeking de-escalation, why did Hun Sen choose to leak the call? And here's where the second piece of the puzzle comes in. In January, shortly after taking office, Paetongtarn approved a draft law to legalize casinos in Thailand as part of regulated entertainment complexes. And if passed, it would have placed Thailand in direct competition with Cambodia. Over the past 20 years, Cambodia's economy has become deeply intertwined with casino development, particularly along the Thai border in cities like Phoi Phet. These areas evolved into hybrid zones, blending gambling, logistics, money laundering, and large-scale scam compound operations, often linked to the ruling elite, with revenues estimated to comprise up to 60% of Cambodia's GDP. Paetongtarn's casino proposal represented a direct threat to that ecosystem. Cross-border traffic would shrink, revenue streams would dry up, and the permissive environment that allowed scam operations to flourish would face serious disruption. Seen through that lens, Hun Sen's decision to leak the call takes on a different meaning. Paetongtarn was suspended by the Constitutional Court on July 1st. And the casino bill was withdrawn on July 8th. As for the conflict, it quickly escalated. On July 23rd, a Thai soldier was seriously injured by a landmine, part of a long-standing issue with Thailand accusing Cambodia of planting new mines on Thai territory. And on July 24th, the dispute escalated into a direct armed confrontation. As usual, both sides blamed each other for firing first, But this time, Cambodia escalated rapidly. BM-21 rockets were launched into civilian areas, striking a hospital and a gas station. And for many observers, the escalation made little sense. Why would Cambodia, a smaller country with a weaker military, risk a confrontation with its larger neighbor? The answer lies in a pattern seen in conflicts around the world. The interests of ruling elites are often disconnected from the broader public good. In authoritarian systems, regime survival is the primary interest, and leadership transitions are moments of particular vulnerability. In Cambodia, Hun Sen ruled for nearly 4 decades, from 1985 to 2023, when he transferred power to his son, Hun Manet. And standing up to Thailand, Cambodia's historical rival and former regional hegemon, offered a way to manufacture nationalist legitimacy and consolidate power under Manet. For the regime in Cambodia, a short, forceful escalation would strengthen Hun Manet's domestic standing, and Hun Sen appears to have laid the groundwork to reduce the risk of a longer war. In February 2025, months before the first escalation, Cambodia hired a Washington-based PR and lobbying firm, NCS, led by a former Trump administration official. Thailand had long maintained close military ties with Washington, while Cambodia remained under a U.S. arms embargo due to its relationship with China. Whether hiring NCS ultimately made a decisive difference is unclear, but after hostilities broke out, the Trump administration quickly pushed for an immediate ceasefire, warning that punitive tariffs would be imposed on both countries if the fighting continued. The Thai government was in chaos after the suspension of Phay Tong Tarn and withdrawal of the second largest party in the coalition, and within days both sides agreed. And Hun Manet nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Following the formal ceasefire signing at the ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur in October, the United States lifted its arms embargo on Cambodia, alongside agreements for joint military exercises and what appeared to be a broader reset in relations. So let's take a step back. Assigning blame in conflicts is rarely straightforward, but one useful lens is to examine who benefits most from the outcome. For the Hun regime, the threat to the casino industry was neutralized. Hun Manet consolidated power under a nationalist banner, the U.S. arms embargo was lifted, and relations with Washington were effectively reset. By almost any measure, it was a masterclass in geopolitical maneuvering. But there was a major flaw. The ceasefire agreement looked comprehensive, but in practice it was rushed and fragile. It lacked binding enforcement mechanisms, it offered no neutral arbitration authority, and it set no clear timelines for permanent border demarcation. The entire process was more about the optics of a peace agreement rather than substance. And the consequences were immediate. On October 27th, Thailand's new Prime Minister, Anutin Charnvirakul, stated that reopening border crossings would depend on Cambodia demonstrating real progress on demilitarization of the border and shutting down scam operations. And within weeks, the ceasefire began to unravel. On November 10th, another landmine explosion injured several Thai soldiers, and Thailand formally suspended the agreement. 2 days later, a Cambodian civilian was killed in an exchange of fire, and major clashes resumed on December 7th. But this time, 3 critical factors had changed in Bangkok. Thailand's political configuration was no longer fragmented, and the willingness to escalate had increased. Cambodia's casino